Drytron Nekroz branded. Say that 10 times fast, scratch your head and go, how work? Don't think 30% of you guys have not smashed the crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can get to 105,000. The last trick regional breakdown is here, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. What in the world are we looking at here? First of all, Sword Soul comes out of nowhere here and is a dominating force, and actually the first place list is budget friendly. The reason why I say that is it's a lot cheaper than the rest of the metagame available to right now. When we look at Decklist here in a second, you will see like the conversion rate for this, but it is relatively interesting just to see, you know, like how things are looking right now. For 4 Sword Souls to run this event is absolutely nuts to me. We had 2 Despia. Surprisingly enough, I guess if enough Despia players just don't represent, or, you know, there's just not enough of a push for this deck to, you know, maintain its assertiveness here, yeah, it's not going to do well. But it did take up 2 slots here. Now, what was our rogue in terms of top cut representation here? We had 1 virtual world list adventure deck in top cut, which means that we all know that the adventure package pretty much held on to this and said, all right, we're doing this. This is going to be our event. Well, interestingly enough, that was the case. It did carry on into top 8, and then, as I mentioned, we had this Drytron branded Nekroz deck. And you want to talk to me about like really weird theory that seems like you just kind of stretch it together and go, oh, all right, like what are we doing here? Well, the answer is it worked. It made its way into top cut for this regional, and I think that's actually pretty impressive at the end of the day that you can see such a hodgepodge deck do well. Let's dig on into the deck list, shall we? The first list we're going to be looking at here is the first place Sword Soul list, and the first thing that catches me off guard here is we're playing 1 Heavenly Dragon Cycle. We've seen Heavenly Dragon Cycle just get pushed out of Sword Soul decks for a little while, so to see that this build is taking it as a 1-of is interesting. I also see here that we have the 1 copy of Talents built into the main deck as well. That's fine, but truly looking at this list, this is a little bit more budget friendly, minus, you know, Ash Blossom's bells and some of like your hand trap stuff. Yeah, the main core is going to be a lot cheaper. Also, shout out to Anti-Spell Fragrance and Dimensional Barrier here being the absolute carries for this deck. All right, I can tell you after what I've seen Sword Soul do this past weekend to Despia at locals, yeah, this deck does not surprise me that it was able to grind out and get to first place for this event. All right, absolutely scary deck when adapted correctly. Next up here is another Sword Soul list. Now, the interesting thing about this list between first place and second place here is there's no Ecclesias in the first place list. The second place list is back on that more standardized, you know, feel for this deck. The second place list here is also focusing on those Dark Ruler No Mores that pretty much can give you an edge. I also see that we have Chalices built in here as well for more of the grindy-esque thing. We don't have a Heavenly Dragon Cycle. There's no Talents in here. We do have access to double Imperm to kind of grind things out. But in terms of development for Sword Soul, this is what I would consider the more standardized approach at this point in time. Once again, shoutouts to those deep barriers and to those anti-spell fragrances being the best tools that Sword Soul could actually have to round out what would be the bad matchups at this point in time. Outside of that, relatively cool seeing like the differences in adaptability here. Next up down here, top 4, we have our first Despia list. Now, this is actually playing DP and we're not playing the adventure package. DP is pretty much kind of fallen off the radar as of this point in time in terms of Despia development. I mean, some builds are still playing it, and that's fine. This is what I would consider like more of the pure side of things, where we use more of the edge imp stuff to kind of take advantage of things. We're playing the theater. We're also playing the you can't interfere with my fusion summons support down here. This is a very early build, I would feel, that hasn't really adapted towards the current conditions in the format. That's not a bad thing. All right, this deck can still function and do well, as you're seeing here. It's just up to like how the metagame has evolved with the adventure package, this build feels a little bit more behind in terms of that, but that's not a bad thing. Also, shout out to Light Hexial Fusion, actually getting to see play here, so you could cheese out Dragoon and laugh at your opponent. All right, next up here is Virtual World. So actually glad to see the top 4 actually had Virtual World in it. So as you can see here, we're playing 48 cards. We have full access to our adventure package in here. We are, of course, playing the Fairy Tale Snow, so you can mess around and do, well, you know, your cheesy interactions. You're going to have enough spell cards, or enough spell cards, you're going to have enough fuel, usually, to unload a Snow, plus you'll be like, oh, well, you know, I can trigger my interaction point. Yeah, Snow is a good card. I also see double anti-spell fragrance down here in the side deck. You notice there's a lot of anti-spell fragrance. It kind of helps counteract the format, ladies and gentlemen. I love to see it. We also have Dark Roll and No Mores down on the side deck. Also, only one token collector. Is it me, or does it kind of feel like a lot of people are like, I don't want to play token collector anymore? They just kind of amputated it out of their decks, and then Sword Soul just kind of came in and stormed this event because players, guess what, probably weren't prepared to handle these sorts of things. It does not surprise me there. We have another Sword Soul list down here in top 8. Now, once again, this is going to be more of your standardized list, more so than previously. Oh my gosh, triple Incredible Ecclesia. No Synthana in this build, which is fine. We're on triple Ashuna, triple of the level 1 in double Vishuddha. That's fine. I see that we have droplets built in for board breaking. No Heavenly Dragon Cycles, no talents in this list. And we're on triple D-Berry on the side. No anti-spell fragrance for this build. I also see Yield Red Reboot here to ensure that you can, you know, take off and do things. Though, I do want to give a shout out here to Red Reboot. That card is nuts, this format. If you play against anything that's like trap reliant at all, Red Reboot is literally just a free blowout for you to be able to win. Honestly, outside of that, nothing else really surprises me about this either. Like I said, I really do think most of these Sword Soul builds are pretty streamlined in terms of development. Next up down here is top 8. Here we go. We're actually main decking Harpy's Feather Duster in this build. Interesting. Alright, so our double Aluber, double Albaz, double Tragedy is fine. We're actually playing the Patchworks built into this too. Alright, double Super Polymerization in the main deck. This is a little bit less hand trappy. This build is sacrificing Ghost Bells, Crossout Designators, you know, Effect Veiler, things like that in order to maintain and do more streamlined things. Also, no comedy in here, no Fairy Tale Snow. And yeah, I'm not surprised about lack of those cards either. We're also playing, extra deck is very standard. All of our hand traps are in the side. Yeah, this is fine. I do like how you, I know the Despia group was talking more about like cutting hand traps and exploring more options for more combo pieces. Good example of this here. This is the pile I was talking about. So this is Nekroz / we have the rocket ritual monster in here. We have the Drytron package in here, so you can do what you want. Then we have the branded package in here. Shout out to Verti Anaconda for bridging the gap, for allowing this this pile of cards to function and exist here. If you want me to be perfectly honest with you, this looks very, very weird on paper, but this is going to be one of those hodgepodge homunculus decks that you're going to look at and you're going to be like, what is going on here? Well, your Nekroz package gives you filtering / protection, which is actually kind of cool. The big Trishula is really, really good. All right, the Rocket Ritual is kind of cute. And then, of course, you know, Mirror Jade interactions to kind of tear apart the opponent. All pretty, pretty standard power plays as of this point in time. So to see that this deck did well, very, very nice. And then down here, we have our last Sword Soul list creaking in at 8th place down here. Triple talents. Holy moly. Alright, 45 cards on this. We're playing the one Synthana, which, like I said, a lot of people kind of hit or miss with that. That's fine. We have triple Ghost Bell, double Ogre, triple Ash. We just did not want our opponent to have fun today. We're siding even heavier with double Crow, triple Droplet, triple D-Barrier. If there was a board that this duelist needed to break, they probably were doing it, to be perfectly honest with you. So that is your last trick regional breakdown for everybody today. Are you very impressed with these results? Because these are all pretty interesting things to see. I'm definitely intrigued to see where we go from here with the format, or anything will really inspire out cool ideas. So please leave a comment down. Tell me what you think. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later and do some more cool ass content. You guys stay safe, alright? Peace out, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.